So as a collector, there's stuff that you have to worry about. One major thing is yellowing. Yellowing is a reaction from heat and or UV light exposure. Most plastics have a fire retardant chemical incorporated into the mix. Over time from this reaction, the bromide will slowly reach the surface of the plastic, which causes discoloration and brittleness. This process is very random, which is what makes it really annoying to prevent. You can store two different items the same way, and one will be fine while the other could be badly yellowed. As one notorious example, the US Super Nintendo console would yellow on the top and bottom parts of the case, while some of the smaller pieces would be fine. Then later releases of the system don't usually yellow. Here's my Super Nintendo. Mine was from the last manufactured sets made in 1997, but that doesn't mean it won't ever happen. Even putting your stuff in a dark box won't prevent it, because heat can still cause the reaction. Like if you have stuff stored in an attic and that summer heat is going on, it's probably going to get yellowed. Yellowing can happen to all colored plastic. White is just the most noticeable. Look at any Commodore 64. Even the age of the item doesn't really matter. Here's Triptor. This is now 10 years old. Its white parts are perfect. Here's my sushi changer. It might be hard to see, but this one is 1 year younger than Triptor and it already has started yellowing. This began like 2 years ago. The recent item I have is this She-Hulk statue. It's already turning yellow and it's only like 3 years old. The worst thing you can do is have plastic in direct sunlight. Here's my D3 Digivice. It was most likely a window model. The box is badly faded and the parts exposed in the window have turned yellow. It's not a matter of how, it's the matter of when your stuff will start yellowing. There are things that you can do to reduce the chances. You can switch over to LED lighting. They emit the lowest UV. Second, you can put UV filters on your windows. So wherever you display your stuff, set up a room with those changes. But there is a way to reverse this. It's called retrobrighting. What you need to get is called hydrogen peroxide and a container that will fit what you want to correct. There's a few ways to do this. The safer way is to fill up a bag or a clear plastic bin with water and peroxide. 3 or 12% is fine. Submerge the item and put it in direct sunlight. This is really the only way to do large items like a computer case or a video game console. It will take around like 3 to 6 hours, and you might have to do it a couple of times depending on light conditions. The second way, and more tedious, is heating up your items. If you have small things and a cloudy day, you can cook your plastic in a pot. I want to make it absolutely clear, don't boil your parts. Plastic melts at 200 degrees. What you need to do is keep your pot around 130 to 140 degrees. If your stove can regulate its temperature, it's pretty easy to do. If it can't, then you'll need an infrared thermometer to monitor the water, adjusting it every 5 to 10 minutes. This is the first time I'm going to be doing retrobrighting, but I've watched a ton of videos on the technique. I highly suggest checking out 8BitGuy's videos. Since I'm doing small pieces, I'll be attempting the stove option. I'll be doing the back parts of the sushi changer, my D3, and Victory Robo's pink 8er. I thought of doing the D3 grips to see how rubber reacts, but they're actually a part of the whole body frame, so I scrapped that idea. You'll want to fill the pot with just enough water to cover the pieces. Add the peroxide in, reheat the water since the peroxide will cool it down. After this, I ran into an issue. The pieces started floating. I'm guessing when adding the peroxide, it's lighter than water, so it's able to lift the pieces. I wasn't sure if this would impede the process, but I left it as is. Use the infrared thermometer on the plastics themselves. Each one heats up differently. The smaller ones are faster than the larger ones, so you want to keep that in mind. I added a little bit of more peroxide to quickly cool off the water. It went too high, but around the 3rd and 4th hour, the parts decided to sink and float randomly. I didn't get why. After the first day, it wasn't off to an amazing start. There is some improvement. The left pieces of the pink 8er is better, but the badly yellow piece of the right and D3 button are still not good. For day 2, I was going to try to keep the parts underwater. I didn't know what I could use, so I kind of just put this plastic container on top, but it wasn't right. They would float to the other side. It did keep the heat in. I stirred them, kept them hotter than usual, even poured more of the peroxide, but still not a big improvement. Okay, so after 2 days of trying, I haven't really seen much improvement toward the pieces. You can just see a change, but this is after 8 hours. Not what I was expecting. It might be because I'm using 3% stabilized peroxide instead of the stronger 12%. Maybe it's because the pieces are floating at the surface. I'm not really sure. So I'm going to try again using another product. This time I'm going for the Salon Care 40 Volume Clear. 8BitGuy used this as well. The Salon Care was actually cheaper than the 3% stuff, so I bought 4. I'm also going to weigh down all the parts, using nuts to keep the pieces in place. It's annoying because you don't want to block areas from getting retrobrighted. I hope this works. Put more stuff than you need. While everything stayed underwater in the beginning, eventually everything started floating back up. I needed 2 or 3 bolts to keep the pieces down. I also decided to stop at the large sushi changer parts. It was too much stuff at once. I only kept the battery cover in. But after around 10 minutes, the bolts started to fizz. I was wondering if something would happen. The Salon Care was probably reacting with the zinc coating or rusted bits on the metal. I really had no choice but to let it go. This is a test. We'll see what it does. Good news, nothing happened. Some of the bolts left rust stains, but they were easy to just clean off. But I'm getting really frustrated with these plastic parts. So I decided just to fill the whole thing up with Salon Care. I'm using a lot of it, but it doesn't matter. I want the parts fixed. Like last time, the bolts are fizzing again, a lot more with all the liquid being Salon Care only, but pretty much the usual. Rinse them thoroughly again, but I have to move on from boiling. Well, 16 hours, 4 days of retrobrighting, it always gets a little bit better, but I'm getting tired of saying that. So there's just one thing left for me to do, good old-fashioned sunlight. The reason why I didn't want to do this was because where I am, sunlight is really difficult to get. There's always shadows and junk everywhere. The only place I could do it reliably is up on the roof. I'll just bring up a Ziploc bag, the original peroxide, fill it up, seal the bag, and use this small jack to weigh the bag down. Just leave it up there for most of the day. The final verdict, all these options do work. They just work at different rates. If you can control your stove temperature, not interfere with everyday cooking, and don't mind it taking a really long time, this is for you. I didn't see a difference between the Salon Care and peroxide, but there is an improvement in using just the chemical without diluting it with water. Temperature doesn't really change anything. I've gotten my parts up to 160 degrees, no speed increase, but the best is definitely sunlight. If you can keep the parts underwater and move things around as the sun passes over, you'll get your plastic fixed in 1 or 2 tries. There's even a grace period after you bring them in. I could see the parts getting whiter a few hours later. My stuff isn't 100% white, but you can see the improvement, especially on the D3 button and my Sushi Changer battery cover. I'll probably go back to these and finish them off. I was also happy that the painted window on Pink Aider didn't get destroyed. Temperature outside also doesn't seem to matter. I was outside when it was 50 degrees. Just make sure it's sunny and no one disturbs the parts. The Salon Care and the peroxide are fairly cheap. You're not going to be doing this often, so it's well worth the hassle. I hope this video helps. I sure learned a lot from all this. I'll also leave a link below to 8BitGuy's channel. He covers this stuff in more detail. Thanks again for watching.